end for him as in terms of his relationship with the players. So maybe Sarri, is potentially looking at some of the kind of nuclear issues that have happened at Chelsea, keeping the senior players happy, and maybe he's going to kind of make his sort of decision during the course of this season and going into next season as well.
Yeah. Well, I just want to jump in and say, Joe, I mean, that's a great point about how the fact that maybe Sarri had to get cute and he doesn't really want to alienate any of the veterans right now, because what's one absolute universal truth throughout all of the Chelsea fan base is that right now Chelsea have an amazing chemistry. That is a huge part for Chelsea right now. The vibe throughout the club is so good. And once you alienate a veteran, it always doesn't work out well. Usually there's some drama. Even a veteran can get to a youngster and it can be a bad snowball effect. So you alienate a Gary Cahill or a Victor Moses. I don't see Moses causing a stir, but you get the point. Once you do that right upon arriving as a new manager, a lot can go wrong. So you get there, and I don't think Sarri is necessarily a guy to play it safe when you look at him versus other managers. However, he is coming to England. There was a lot of doubts if he could adapt to England. He was coming to a bigger club than Napoli. As big as Napoli is, it's a bigger club. So there was a little pressure to not really rock the boat too much upon coming in, especially since he brought Jorginho over. So it's not like he had to rework everything anyway. So he kind of kept it simple. He went with his veterans. And I think, as you're saying, he does know the youth. I think it's his plan. Once he feels a little bit more ownership of the club, that's when he starts making a little bit more of bold moves. He stopped playing a Cahill or a Moses. And guys, also remember, Willian, there's some stuff about Willian not really at all liking being a bench player. And I joked about it on Saturday, how he was in another starting lineup and whatever, Sunday, whatever. But for all we know, there's some type of a deal where Willian has to start a majority of these games. And, Pedro has a great attitude coming off the bench, but there's so many politics behind these team selections that there's no way Sarri's trying to rock the boat that early on. I think once he feels a little bit more jurisdiction with the team, that's when we might see.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Yeah, 100%. That's a fantastic point. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The squad's not fully in Sarri's image just yet. We weren't able to get rid of a lot of players. We were hoping to sell Drinkwaters and other guys, Zappacosta's and players like that. So yeah, he can't come to a new surroundings and start rocking the boat. He has to take his time and be patient. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But still though, I mean, by the time that happens, could the youth players be, not feel as confident playing under Sarri anymore?
I think also that. How can I say that? I'm not the biggest fan of Ruben Loftus, but I like him as a player. And let's say that the generation of Ruben Loftus, we're pretty happy if you said to them, look, at the end of the season, you will start a game, the last game of the season. You will have that start in the Premier League and all that. Right now, if you said that to Hudson-Odoi, I don't think he will care that much. I think that they want more in Europe. They want a clear path to the under 18 or anything else, to the first team. Even if it takes 2 or 3 years, but they want something. They want to have a focal point and to work for that. So I think that if you said to him, look, right now I can't give you a start because Moses is there, because Fabregas is there, but you will see after January you will start. That's what we said to Ruben Loftus for a year, and he didn't start a single game. So I think that the younger generation are smarter than before, and they are not going to accept that.
Yeah, I mean, the only real kind of thing that I've seen with Sarri, I mean, particularly if we're looking at how he's handled Loftus-Cheek, is that I think he's the only manager that's really actually kind of publicly said or actually identified what Loftus-Cheek's weaknesses are, and it's the tactical side of the game entirely. Whether that is out of possession, maybe when we have possession as well. There are deficiencies to his game which anyone kind of watching him as a teenager, kind of playing in that Chelsea team, particularly that that team who won the UEFA Youth League in 2014-15, he was just exceptional. He was so far ahead of everyone else, and a kind of talent level where it didn't really matter what he did. Chelsea had a midfield of him and Charlie Colkett, which was about as kind of swaggy and kind of, just completely full of technique and not really, they're not really there to sort of do positional discipline. They're there just a ball. So, those two guys playing in midfield, I don't think he's ever really had to have this kind of notion of being coached on where to play from a positional sense, because his physical gifts and his technique.
With that point too, I've got a bit of a theory. Do you think maybe Ruben's been struggling a bit when it comes to the tactical side, playing in midfield, because he hasn't played in midfield for how many years? Like when he's been playing for Crystal Palace, he's playing out wide. Playing for Chelsea, he's playing as a striker, as a winger, as a cam.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It reminds me a little bit of how Benitez used to handle Gerrard in big games for Liverpool. He used to move him out to the right-hand side or to the left to let Mascherano and Alonso kind of have central roles. And, I think if you take that analogy, I think Loftus-Cheek has quite similar, I wouldn't say similar traits, but maybe like a similar style in that, he wants to sort of be explosive on the ball. That's his kind of whole MO. It's about everything in possession, and maybe in a similar way to Gerrard, that sort of positional indiscipline or lack of positional awareness, you could say, or tactical awareness is potentially what is going to cost him a position, because I think that's where Barkley is ahead of him at the moment, is that his tactical awareness has improved so much under Sarri. No means am I sort of suggesting that I think he's anywhere near Kovacic's level, because Kovacic's sort of tactical awareness and just general kind of tactical play is incredible. But Barkley has improved there, and I think what Loftus-Cheek needs to do is if he wants to set Chelsea and he wants to accept the challenge, then this is going to be the only thing that stops him from really playing, because I think we saw against Vidi, his ability on the ball is, I think, better than any of the midfielders that we have. We don't have anyone who can carry the ball through midfield, who has that kind of little touch of class, that little kind of bit of extra ability in the final third. And we keep seeing, even in the pre-season game, I can't remember who we were playing at Stamford Bridge, but he made another sort of insane run in that game.
Leon, I think. Leon.
Yeah, it might have been the Leon game. Yeah, he does this quite regularly, and I think, a lot of Chelsea fans overlook. I think after Eden Hazard last season, he was one of the sort of top 3 players in the Premier League with completed dribbles per game. And he was playing left mid, a little bit centre mid, a little bit inside forward. He was kind of playing in that sort of area he's playing in now. So there's obviously something there. I think it's just a question of if he listens to Sarri and kind of maybe sort of tries to adapt to what he's asking of him. But the talent's clear. I think we're seeing it, against Vidi, he had 2 kind of real outstanding moments. And I think the other thing that probably puts him into a different light to Barkley and maybe others is he doesn't really lose the ball. I think one of the things I see with Barkley is he does concede possession quite a bit. Kovacic doesn't really give the ball away, but he's not as progressive. I imagine he'd be a little bit more progressive with the ball at his feet. Maybe again, it's just adapting to the Premier League. But Ruben is able to do that. He is able to beat people. And it's a little bit different to the midfield skill set that we have. So, part of me would love to see him kind of knuckle down this season, take the challenge and improve that aspect of his game, because he's got the intelligence. He's got the ability. You don't get people. Every time he played for Palace and you watch Match of the Day or Sky, you'd have people completely and utterly raving about him, from Ruud Gullit to Glenn Hoddle to Tim Sherwood, who's a really, really good pundit, particularly when it comes to young players, raving about him as well. He always got picked out, but it's piecing it together for him now. And I think you're right. It's a lack of game time as a midfielder, and really, I suppose that the lack of having a position. He's a little bit like a jack of all trades, master of none at this point in time. So if he knuckles down and hopefully improves that aspect of his game, he's got a real chance, because, as I said, in that midfield, he's the only one I really feel who's capable of doing that, who's having that sort of moment in possession. That definitely Kante and Barkley and Jorginho are not going to be able to do the sorts of things he can. So he's got so much going for him, but you've got to do the fundamentals, even in a Sarri system where we're very much attack minded. The criticism has been publicly that that he thinks a lot of the counters that we conceded because Loftus-Cheek isn't in the right position. So he either takes it on the chin and figures it's something that he can learn, or he pushes for a move away, because at the moment I think he's not going to be a squad player at Chelsea. He either is going to be here to try and play the majority of games, or he's going to push for a move. So it's kind of one or the other. So it's really up to this point.
And that's the disappointing thing, because I think that all of us realised that eventually the lack of game time was always going to affect Ruben in the future. And I think now, I mean, I can understand Ruben's position. You're thinking, should I continue to be patient again before I get a chance at the first team, even though there's no guarantees that the manager is going to stand by what he says, or, should I just find a club where, I might have to, it will take me a while to get used to things tactically, but at least I'll be playing games and I can get to that state quicker. So it is a bit of a difficult one for him, but I don't know. It's disappointing. It is disappointing. Me personally, if I was Ruben, I would probably look for a move. I mean, I think, isn't there talks of a loan move again potentially in January?
I think he's leaving in January. Yeah, I think so.
Is it to Europe potentially, or?
I mean, that's also one of the things that Joe spoke a lot before. But the fact that Ruben stayed in the summer is not because he wanted to stay, because Sarri wanted him to stay. It's mainly because Chelsea didn't find a club who was willing to pay what they asked for him. And I think he will leave to Palace. I think that the question is really how long he will leave. If it's 6 months, or maybe 1 year and a half, maybe more. I don't know. Maybe 2 years. I think that at the end of the day, he needs to leave for him, because I don't think he will be a starter right now under Sarri, even if he trained with the. I mean, that's what happened with Mourinho, with Eding. They tell him to stay, to train with the first team, so he can improve, so he can grow as a player. Then he will start. At the end of the day, he didn't start. He was used as a winger. Then Conte arrived and he used him as a striker with Michi up front. I mean, look, he really need to move. I know that Lyon is really interested in him, and they want him to use him as a backup to Aouar, who's actually played on the wing, but Aouar also sometimes play as the backup of Fekir, so sometimes he plays as a 10.
Yeah, he's always been a big fan of Ruben as well. So yeah, I mean, Leon, I think it can make some sense. I mean, it's looking pretty bad for, I think, Genesio right now. I think talks have jarred in, but it's like he could potentially be leaving, but I don't even want to get into that. But I think that this segues nicely into the last point for today, and that's in regards to, the Carling Cup, Mason Mount and Tomori. Now, earlier today on Twitter, I was tweeting a bit passionately today. That's all I can say.
A small disagreement.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I definitely was.